KYLER Moseley was born right here in Macon, Georgia, back in the 1950s. At a very young age, he was exposed to the music of the Allman Brothers Band,
Yes.
who lived and jammed close to the home KYLER grew up in nearby Lizella, Georgia.
Still live there.
KYLER has done numerous things in the music industry, from working at music retailers to going on the road as a merch man with Judas Priest to being a music journalist. Currently, KYLER co-hosts the Whipping Post Big House Radio Hour on 100.9 FM The Creek, a radio station here in Macon. And he's a founding board member of the Georgia Allman Brothers Band Association, GABBA, which puts on the annual GABBA Fest here in Macon. He's also a valued member of COMP, and we often have lengthy discussions of all things music. Welcome, KYLER Moseley.
Glad to be here, Tim. You know I love talking music, brother.
Well, we're gonna do that. In fact, your father was a musician, so was that your kind of first exposure?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I grew up, listening to him play Hank Williams Sr. stuff. The Lizella area out there. I'm proud to be a fellow from Lizella, by the way.
Okay.
I was born in the Macon Hospital, but there's a whole lot of music around me in Lizella. I mean, when my dad played, and I got exposed to Mr. Eddie Cannon, that was part of Ned's Hayloft Jamboree.
They had a radio show, TV show
They
here
were
in...
one of the first. Ned's Hayloft Jamboree was one of the first music things, I think, on WMAZ, perhaps in the 50s.
Yeah.
He lived around the corner from us. I mean, it's funny, my neighbors that I grew up with, Lynn Ross, that lived across the road from me and still one of my neighbors to this day, she had a giant collection of 45s, all of Motown, stacked stuff. She was a hippie girl, went to Byron. I was really,
Byron Pop Festival.
Byron Pop
or
Festival.
the Atlanta Pop
The
Festival.
Atlanta Pop Festival,
in
as
Byron.
we know it.
Where Jimi Hendrix played, and
Right.
the Allman Brothers, and many others.
Her first husband was a drummer, and they had parties across the road from where I live, and there would be musicians there jamming when I was, anywhere from 11, 12 years old to 15, 16 years old. So I got exposed to music that way.
Well, speaking of that,
And the Allman, that's the tie-in with the
all right.
with the Allman Brothers, because with them being at Idlewild South, out on between Holly and Knoxville Road in Lizella, I could stand in my backyard and hear them playing and rehearsing there. They were the hippies in the woods,
Yeah.
so to speak.
And this would have been 1970,
this was
71?
69,
70,
yeah.
okay.
Um,
And so you
Yeah.
were 9 or 10.
Yeah, 10,
Yeah.
10 by the time they were there. I was hearing this music in the woods, didn't really know what I was listening to, but I go across the road, and I think Lynn had the first two Brothers albums. And, she kind of gave me well, hey, that's the Allman Brothers, that's who's
Right.
down there. Of course, the record itself.
Yeah, this is their second album, Out of Wild South.
Wild South. And
this is a
and then
picture.
This is a photo of the cabin that was there that
Right.
they resided in. And
Yeah.
could go fishing and swimming and all kind of good stuff down there. Which even after the brothers left, Cowboy was there.
Right. And Chuck...
Chuck lived there. Randall lived on the dam. He said in the tent because there wasn't enough room for him in the little cabin. But Tommy Talton, Scott Boyer, David Brown, all them guys were out there.
Right. You don't know that this is going to be a huge band at the time, but do you, other than hearing it, do you recall any songs or anything?
Not really, but by then I was getting into rock and roll.
Yeah.
I had Burnham Wood down the road from it, which I'll throw this CD up there for everybody to take a gander at. Bunch of great guys down there. Again, I could stand in my yard and just hear this music blasting. I mean, they were loud. They were half a mile down the road from me. So from like 72 until they broke up, I guess, in 77, they were in the neighborhood out there.
Right.
And
So a lot of bands at this time converged on Macon because of Capricorn Records. And Burnham Wood was one of those bands. And they were managed by Pat Armstrong.
Well, I think Allen had them first.
Allen had them first, and then he
supposedly traded them for the 1%, which became
Leonard
Skinner.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
Yeah, you got the poster.
up on the wall here, I've got a poster of Burnham Wood playing the Grand Opera House. and their opening act, I think, is Leonard Skinner,
Yeah.
or vice versa. I'm not too sure.
But you know, again, the amount of music I got to hear out there as a teenager was pretty incredible. Man.
Yeah, Liesel and
Or
Georgia.
from 10 years old until later on, actually having Tim Brooks and them rehearse in my parents' garage, and my mom was, she was always so supportive and understanding of, she didn't like the long hair, but she tolerated it, and
She still tolerates
she
it.
still tolerates it at almost 89 years old now.
Yeah. She allowed you to kind of have shows in your yard.
Well, yeah, at some point, and by the time I got to junior high school, and with my parents having a 20 by 40 garage that we didn't park a vehicle in, it basically turned into a music space. I'd invite guys out to, like, hey, I got a space, y'all bring your gear out and set up and play.
Yeah.
And a couple of times, we put out flyers and have 100, 125, 150 people in my parents' yard, and
Is that the same house you live in now?
well, the original house was torn down.
Okay.
I'm in a modular now. It's been fixed up pretty nice.
Okay. The same property then.
Same property.
Uh-huh.
I'm a sixth generation member of my family that's been in the Liesel over towards Sandy Point, part of Crawford County area out there.
So you, like me, were here for the 70s, the whole Capricorn Southern Rock thing.
Pretty much.
But we were a little too young to go to Grant's.
Or the Red Lamp.
Red Lamp
Never made it
Lounge.
in the Red Lamp. Once I got my learner's license and my driver's license, every chance I got to go with either somebody older than me. Went to a lot of stuff at the old Houston County Fairgrounds. Chris Hicks's first cousin, Jimmy Howe, me and him went out there and caught people like Eric Quincy Tate and Brown House and several other bands that rolled through out there. The Stillwater guys, I met all them guys.
Right. And they would have shows at Central Park and.
Which, like I said, once I got my driver's license, that was the place to be.
Yeah.
Chuck Lavelle told me I took the pictures of the first Sea Level show in the park down there with them playing on a flatbed trailer.
Oh,
The
cool.
original 4-piece.
Very, very cool.
Got to see Grinder Switch down there. Scott Boyer had a separate side project. The day I saw Grinder Switch, Bobby Whitlock was sitting in, Butch Truck sat in, Bonnie Bramlett sat in. So, tremendous days at Central City Park.
It was just great. Related to Capricorn maybe was Great Southern, a merchandising
company. In '82, I got to go out on the Judas Priest World Tour.
Okay, and did you know Judas Priest? Were you?
No, not really at the time. I was not familiar with them. Me and you both worked at Record Bar.
Right.
I'd worked there from '77 until '82. A friend of mine, Stuart Pierce, that was friends with Dallas Moore, a guitar player that had worked in a band that Tim had. He told me, he says, I want to get you out on the road. So I got a phone call and got flown to Texas and worked for several months on that Priest tour.
Did you enjoy that experience?
It was eye-opening. Getting to travel and, just be in a rock and roll environment like that, it was a lot of fun.
Well, along the way, you befriended a lot of musicians here from Middle Georgia. And one of your better friends was Tim Brooks.
Yeah, I actually met him across the road from my house at one of those house parties when I was 15 years old.
Yeah. And
2015.
Tim was bigger than life, both physically and personality-wise.
Music-wise, he was a genius. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And I think most of the folks that ever worked with him in a musical setting were even as temperamental as he could be, and he could be. I think he straddled that line between a genius and sometimes a madman, maybe. But
yeah.
The creativity, and I'm very fortunate in that, I've written stuff, at least ideas down for years, and Tim was willing to take my lyrical ideas and titles that I've kept up with, and do something with them.
Yeah.
And so, between songwriting with him and giving him titles for, instrumental pieces of music that he came up with. In fact, the thing that he won the guitar player ultimate guitar competition piece with, I provided the title for that, made from scratch.
And you eventually wrote a song that's on one of their albums, the Brothers Brooks albums.
Yeah.
The name of the song is
Peaches Are Sweeter.
Peaches Are Sweeter.
Kind of proud of that one. I love New York City, or did at different times I've been there. The lyrics to Peaches Are Sweeter are kind of related to the situation in New York City and a country boy going up there in the 70s and realizing that he had a love at home that he needed to get back to, and New York City didn't treat him that well. So.
Yeah.
We heeded fame and fortune's call and almost lost it all. But all this time there's been a lady on his mind. He was a full believer. Now he knows why those Georgia peaches are sweeter. I was born and bred to play rock and roll, but in this town there ain't no soul, and it breaks my heart to think that I've been fooled again. But I won't stick around for no more lies. I'll hit the road without asking why. Ain't no need to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Now, you mentioned Chris Hicks earlier. You basically grew up.
Well, mine and Chris's families go back again, like I said, probably 5-6 generations in the Liza area. We always joke that we kin to each other. We just ain't quite got it figured out.
Yeah. And Chris has played with the Marshall Tucker Band for decades.
27, 8 years.
27.
And the Outlaws before that. And
Played with the Outlaws, and he had his own band, Loose Change.
And again, that's part of South Liza Road that I still live on. I had Chris Hicks at the upper end. Tim Pinson, that's another camp meeting. He's been in bands. He's one of my neighbors. Tim and Greg Brooks and them rehearsing at my house.
Yeah.
I had Burnham Wood down the road. Ottawa South around the corner from
Yeah, you were part of the formation of an organization here in Macon.
George Allman Brothers Band Association.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it kind of got started as, at least from my standpoint, a lot of the tape traders. There's a big tape trading. I hate to call it market because there wasn't no money changing hands amongst us. Between the bunch I knew as tape traders and some of the people in Atlanta like Joe Bell, and we all basically put our heads together and said, let's instead of just being fans, let's do something that'll benefit us, be able to put on a show, benefit the community, and we've been doing it for 32 years now.
And tell us some of the people who played at these shows.
Well, Tim Brooks, and the first people we had was the Brooks Brothers, basically doing 4 hours worth of Allman Brothers. Had Jack Pearson several times.
Love Jack.
The Mule played one year. Jimmy Hall's played for us. Marcus King has played for us. Samantha Fish has played for us.
Yeah, and Marcus King is right downstairs.
Yeah, Marcus is
right
here
now.
today.
We're recording here.
Great guitar player,
Capricorn
Drew Smithers,
Studios.
down there working with him.
Yeah.
So we for 32 years, except for the one COVID year, we've had an event that's brought in people from all over the world.
And it's every September.
Yeah.
This year's fall event, who will be playing?
This year we've got Eddie 9-Volt on Friday night.
Who recorded an album here at Capricorn. That was the #1 blues album. It's called Capricorn, isn't it?
The great guitar player out of Chicago named Joanna Connor. That she just got a deal through Joe Bonamassa's record company. She's a lot of fun. I can't wait to see her. The incredible slide player Sonny Landreth. That's again played with Clapton, played with Clifton Chenier, played with John Hyatt.
Tell everybody about the big house.
Well, the Allman Brothers Museum's at 2321 Vinyl Avenue. It's the house that the Allman Brothers lived in. With, at least part of the brothers lived there. They used it as a base of operations. I helped Kirk and Kirsten West When they bought the house and moved from Chicago, I was one of the 3 or 4 GABBA members that helped them move their truckload of stuff in. Of course, it eventually became the museum that it is today.
Yeah.
And I do the radio show with Richard Brent and John Linsky that we record downstairs here in Studio B.
And by the way, Kirk West is a photographer, and he's photographed a lot of rock and roll, country, blues guys. A lot of blues guys, because he came out of Chicago. And so if you come to Macon, you need to go to the big house.
Yes.
You need to come here to Capricorn, and you need to go to Gallery West, which is Kirk's gallery, where he's got lots of great photographs.
One other thing I guess we ought to talk about is Skydog. The first GABBA Fest, Tim got him and Glenn Harold, who was the main guy with Skydog putting it together, and he does all the hard stuff. I just get to be the MC and wrangle the cat players, herd as we call it. But, he came back and played with Tim, that first GABBA Fest we did, and then subsequent ones in 2002 and 2003. But after that was done, Glenn put the band together with Tim to play at the park, and we're celebrating Dwayne Allman's birthday is what it revolves around. That was Skydog was Dwayne's nickname. This year in November will be our 19th year doing that. I think for the last 8-9 years we've done it for Daybreak, the homeless shelter folks.
So it benefits homeless people.
And
it's always the Sunday before Thanksgiving?
Before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun to get down there when the weather's nice. You got 2,500 or 2,000 to 3,000 people in the park, like a big giant family reunion between the local talent that we've got here now, like Dusty McCook, and going back to starting with Tim and Ken Wynn, Kemper Watson, Mike Harrell. We've had guests like Scott Sherrard from Greg's band, now with Little Feet.
Drew Smithers.
That's downstairs with Marcus. Jimmy Hall's played that with us. Tommy Talton played that with us. Junior Mack from J-Mo's bands played with us. So we've had some pretty tremendous guests. Again, I just feel so blessed to have been around so many great musicians and just good folks in general.
Well, speaking of blessed, you're lucky to be alive.
Well, a lot of answered prayers, brother.
Yeah, you had a transplant. A kidney transplant.
Yes. I've been a diabetic for 55 years now.
Yeah.
I've survived open heart surgery. I had kidney and liver failure in 2011. Was in a coma for about 2 weeks. Had to relearn how to walk.
Wow.
I was on dialysis off and on for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then January the 14th of 2023, I received a phone call and ended up over in Augusta at AU and got a kidney transplant. It extended my life. And so anybody out there, if you're not signed up to be a transplant person, please do so. You can extend or save somebody's life. Don't do you no good, take it with you. Sometimes I wonder why the Lord kept me alive as long as he has. I think, with me being an MC for Skydog, an MC for GABBA Fest, being on the radio, that gives me a platform to encourage people to sign up to be,
And now you're a valued comp member.
Glad to be part of it, man. It's fun to meet some of the folks I've met, especially the characters that we have that are older than me and you.
Exactly.
We're a couple of the youngsters
We
out of
are.
that bunch.
Yeah.
To hear them talk about the places that they played in the early 60s, and or to hear somebody like Newton tell stories, and talking to people like Matt Brown and folks like that. I mean, it's just been pretty a lot of fun to me. I guess our biggest regret is over the years that we didn't do something like this when so many of the guys that were here in the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Well, Kyler, I appreciate you doing this. KYLER Moseley, everybody.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, bro.